Go.
It's a drum
Let's kick
roll?
it off,
Was that a
boys.
drum
Let's
roll?
kick it
That
off.
was a
All
drum
right,
roll.
so
Go.
Take it out.
what is going on, guys? Hope everyone is having a great day so far. Welcome to the first official episode of the Cosmic Council podcast, where beginner conversations evolve into expert techniques. We are your hosts, POISIONkill,
What's happening?
SirDeacon,
Hey.
and myself, Qui-Gons be bygones. Our first episode, we decided we wanted to chat about the idea of starting from zero. Our objective behind this episode is to answer as many of the common questions that occur for people who want to start as we possibly can. We have a list of questions that we're going to be covering with opportunities for a bit of Q&A along the way and at the tail end of the podcast. But before we go into that, I wanted to take a few minutes for the three of us each to kind of give a little bit of an overview of ourselves, kind of let you guys know where we're coming from, where we started, and how we got to where we are now. Poison, do you want to go ahead and kick us off with that? It's definitely still getting notification sounds, but oh well.
You still hear them? Mine are all muted. I just see them in the chat. I'm just gonna blow kisses to all of you.
Not y'all.
All right, so
Specifically me, though.
oh, of course, specifically you. I do love to blow the kisses. my name is POISIONkill. I'm the face of the positive poison community. That's kind of what this has become. But you know, not even. Yeah, just 6 months ago, I was but a person who made fun of streamers because I equated it to people who would watch sports. And my logic was, why would you watch sports if you could just play the sports? One day I turned on my Xbox and began to stream, and it just kind of clicked. A view count went from 0 to 1, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is possible. Kept at it, and now I've met all of you beautiful friends. Kind of who I am, though. I guess background, right? Qui-Gon, kind of kick it off from there too.
Yeah,
Not
sure.
just
I
streaming,
mean, it's
but,
just like where you started, where like what got you
Yeah.
to doing what you're doing.
So, started from Titanfall 2. I was having some killer games. I was playing Titanfall 2, and I realized you can do this from the Xbox. So I just hit go live. I don't even think I titled it. I really think it probably said POISIONkill's channel on my first stream. I let it auto age gate me and everything. Just kept going. From 0 went to 1. Next day, I'm calling on my friend who streams. I'm like, dude, how do I do this? How do I have a gaming PC I built for, of all things, RuneScape. So I'm hooking all this up. I'm trying to get this down pat just to understand it at least and see how this would look and work for me. And he comes over and shows me how to download Streamlabs, and he shows me how to hook up my old C920 and my Snowball, all these little things. I start streaming from my computer, which is me playing Elder Scrolls Blades, thinking that was a good idea. We'll get into how to pick games, I'm sure, later from starting from 0, but I'm playing it on my phone, and I'm literally casting it to my PC, recording the screen, not even the source, the screen, and then sending it out to Streamlabs. No good camera, nothing like that. Just hanging out. That eventually evolved into a point where actually Mr. Superstar in here, my first mod and the first concurrent viewer that came back a second time, became friends, and he kind of encouraged me by, we had our first talk about what it means to be a mod, and we had these conversations that made me realize there's so much more to this than just playing games. It brought the business mindset to me, and that's when streaming really became a thing to me, is when I realized there's a deeper level than just playing the video games and getting views. There are friends to be made, there are networks to be had, there's skills and tools to learn how to apply and use, and that it just came to me naturally to keep pushing. And I could also be me in that space, working in IT, always loving to rip apart microwaves and things we're going to throw away. I just got here, and what is here right now, obviously the goal is much higher than any of where we're at now. I think Qui-Gon and Deacon would both agree with that, but we're going to keep going. We're going to keep being real, and that's where I am. That's where I'm going.
Yes, sir.
Qui-Gon.
Well, obviously, my name is Qui-Gons be bygones. As far as kind of where I started, where I came from, don't need to go all the way back. I just need to let you guys know I have been gaming for as long as I can possibly remember. And that has just slowly evolved over time. Started on Twitch, didn't really take it seriously when I was on Twitch, didn't really set a schedule for myself, didn't do nothing like that. It was just like, I would stream when I wanted to. I played games that I enjoyed, and that was just kind of that. Then one night, my buddy and I decided to go out to a bar, and we were just getting a drink. Completely by happenstance, I met a man named Wes Wilson, who used to actually work for Mixer and is a partnered broadcaster here on the platform. We had just met him randomly. He was at that bar that night. Doesn't even live in the same area as I do. He just happened to be up here and in that bar that night. Had a conversation with him. He caught on to the fact that I enjoy streaming every once in a while. I told him that I streamed on Twitch, and he asked me if I'd ever heard of Mixer. Then he gave me his spiel about that, and I was like, okay, I'll check it out. Came over to the platforms, started looking around the different communities, ended up finding Dad Got Games community, the leader of the Dad Nation, which is now a stream team that all three of us are actually a part of. And instantly fell in love with his content, the way that he did things, and the very genuine approach to everything that he does. And he was the one who really inspired me to decide to take streaming to a new level, and start working at it from the approach of I want this to be something more than just a hobby, because I love the community behind it. Obviously, I love playing video games, always have, probably always will. And it's just merging my passion for being able to entertain people and playing video games and being involved in a community at the same time was just kind of what led me to start streaming. Started small, only streamed probably 3 days a week, 3 hours a stream when I first started, and slowly built up to where I'm at now. Now I'm streaming almost 40 hours a week, week in, week out, sometimes staying up way later than I should.
Yesterday.
Yeah. Hey, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I was only up till 7 a.m. Don't worry about it. But yeah, that's kind of where I started. Just kind of getting up to the point where we're at now, and just ended up in some like minds with these two gentlemen here. And now we decided we wanted to share our thoughts from a different perspective of people who haven't necessarily made it, so to speak. We wanted to provide the perspective of people who are in the process of trying to make it, trying to provide a fresh perspective for people who are closer to our size, who can relate easier to the experiences that we are going through. And so that's kind of where I'm at, and what led us to start this podcast. So toss it over to you, Deacon.
Chronicling the journey.
Yep.
You know,
What'd you say, Poison?
Yeah. Chronicling the journey, where we are trying to share tips of things that are more fresh in our mind, of things that might have succeeded or failed, and things that might work in the current environment, but also chronicling our journey too,
Yeah.
for us to look back on
for
someday
sure.
and see the friends we made and the lessons we've learned.
Yep.
For sure. So I'll wrap that up on intros. I'm SirDeacon. I actually got my start, oddly enough, on Mixer, just out of nowhere. I think I was similar to Poison, just goofing off. Oh, hey, you can stream to Mixer from your Xbox. I can do that. Didn't take it seriously at all. Probably 2 years ago or so. And then Facebook gaming became a thing, and it took off, so to speak, with some of the name. And by take off, I don't mean that it's the biggest platform ever. I mean that some of the names that they were grabbing were really big hitters on Twitch. And if you spend enough time on Facebook, you notice, you scroll through videos and all that stuff. And I started digging around Darkness429 stream, actually one of the biggest guys on the Facebook gaming platform. Great guy, great content. And I started thinking more and more about it, and I was like, I can do that. Like, that's, obviously not his setup. His setup's insanity, but I was like, I can stream video games, and I can talk, and I can play, and I can build a community. I can do that. That's something, I love to talk. I love to bring people together and, find common ground and just hang out and chill, which is a lot of what my channel has become about, is just a chill place to hang out. And I probably spent, I think that was like August of, 2019? Probably late 2017. Well, no, late 2018. I came across, actually getting into streaming as like something that I felt like I could do. What year is it? And so I dug in a little bit. I dug in, I bought some equipment, and I did tons and tons of research on softwares and hardware and things like that, and set up my first actual stream with a cam and a mic, and I was kind of off, and I spent about 6 months on Facebook and didn't really get the traction that I had hoped for, or and some of the features were lacking because it's still very much in its infancy, and so is Mixer, but they've made significant strides as opposed to Facebook gaming. And I tested out Mixer a little bit more as I was serious on Facebook, and I really felt that it allowed me to create a show, which is part of what we do. I don't think I've ever looked at a successful streamer on Mixer and their content seems boring. They're always putting on a show, whether it's their personality or the gimmicks that they have. I mean, people love it. I love it, at least. And so I really found a home in Mixer that I thought I could build on. And then that kind of, 2 months into that, I had gotten invited to be a part of the Dad Nation stream team, as Qui-Gon's mentioned before. I poured into that channel and that community because it was, I don't know even how I found it. I remember going in there and thinking, this guy has an immense amount of energy and it's amazing. Like, I could do that. I can have that energy. And so I hung out and I met people. I hung out with him. I just had conversations with him, with his community. And then, 3-4 months down the road, we're here doing this podcast together. So,
Yep.
It's been a fun journey, and I look forward to the rest of it, man. It's going to be great.
Yep, I'm excited to see where this takes us. So that being kind of wrapped up as far as intros go. So anyone who has not kind of, or anyone who's like in one channel more than the other, doesn't necessarily know everyone. Now you guys all kind of have an idea of where we came from, where we started, how we got to where we are now. And now we're going to go ahead and jump into the topic of our first podcast, which is the idea of starting from zero. I think the primary reason that we decided to go with this is because we wanted to be able to address the questions like I said a little bit earlier, for people who just want to get started. They don't know where to go, but we wanted to be able to provide the approach, or provide the perspective of people who are still, like, we've been doing this obviously for a little bit, but we're still kind of realistically in those starting stages, with still a lot of room to grow and expand on what we're doing. So we wanted to kind of talk about that. And as far as the first question we are going to tackle, and I think this is probably one that most people ask most often, is what equipment do I need to get started, as far like between hardware and software and stuff like that goes. Poison, do you want to go ahead and kick us off with that?
Yeah, so I mentioned, to kick it off, kind of how I started off just from the Xbox, quickly went to a PC that I already had. The reason for that was, I'm not rolling the dough, and even if you are, I don't advise dropping money on something that you might not like. I mean, I think that's buying a car without test driving it. Streaming and speaking of Dad Nation, when it comes to Dad God Games, something he's mentioned a lot, and I'm noticing a lot of big streamers who have found success in streaming are pretty open and honest with us about saying, hey, if you're new, don't invest money for the first 90 days. That first, 3.5 month period, 3 months being the good one to go with, because you might just burn out. You might find it's not for you. You might find the grind, as it's called, is too tough. You might find that grind isn't an enjoyment. And so I didn't invest too much. Now, I did invest money. I invested in certain services and certain things like Mixer Pro, and I began to subscribe to people and things of that nature. But that was more for the networking piece, which I think we may get in touch on some of that a little bit, right? But yeah, when it comes down to it, this is my first mic. It's just a blue snowball.
Also my first mic.
Oh my gosh,
Right?
dude.
Also my
Picked
first
it up
mic.
for super cheap.
Hey,
You can buy this thing new.
$50 in, and that is a solid little. That's a champ of a mic, to be honest.
Until it died on me before the charity stream. That's a whole different story for a whole different time. Right before it, this thing, it was fine for the price I had with a C920. The quality was, if I ever did big screen, I was just a 160p blur. It was horrible.
Still cute though.
So I didn't. I just didn't do that. Now, as as things have gotten more successful and things have grown. We have, I mean, I've upgraded my technology. I know Qui-Gon and Deacon, I'm sure, have too.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
Nope, I'm
from
running
starting
on a blueberry or a blackberry.
a blueberry.
Yeah,
That's a different topic too.
it's an off-brand. It's an off-brand blackberry. That's how cheap I'm getting over here.
And Blackberries are out of business, so that lets you know how cheap this one is.
Oof.
They paid him to take it.
Oof.
I'm kidding. No, what it comes down to it though, if you have something laying around, make it work. If you can find a way to use your phone for a webcam or something like that, just to stream it, sure, go for it. It may just be streaming from your computer with a free software like Streamlabs or XSplit, streaming computer games. It may be you streaming your Xbox straight from that with a nice Turtle Beach or headset you already have. I think that's the place to start for the first at least a month to get your ground, kind of your ground in there. Just how do I feel? Where do my feet fall on this? Am I going to move forward? Is it going to be one step forward, two steps back? As the second month comes around, begin to maybe price check and get a feel for it. As that third month comes around, if you've accomplished that, if you've beaten it, begin to expand your options. But yeah, don't jump in, spend some money. I just recommend $50 at the most if you're going to spend anything, but probably don't even do that. Just try to find what you have and make it work. I mean, at this point, from my experience, most technology is cross-platform, if you will. There's a way you can make everything kind of work with anything. At least from my experience with the way the Xbox works, being most of us have PCs, right? Because streaming from a Mac is kind of a headache. So I'd say just make what you have work. If you don't know, reach out to somebody who might. I mean, Reddit, find subreddits, just start Googling it. Rephrase the question you have 1,000 times before you give up to save that $100, because sure, it might take an hour and it might be a little boring, but $100, I mean, were you gonna make that in an hour? If you can, you gotta let us know your secrets. But that's what I got.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, and I think so I heard a saying one time in an audiobook, and it said, do what you can where you are with what you have. Now in that situation, it was about life, but I think you could easily translate that over to streaming too. Like he said, he went out and he bought a snowball, and you could literally fire up your Xbox and get started. You don't need a camera, you don't need a mic, you don't need overlays, you don't need anything. What you need to know, or what you need, is to know that you're going to stick with it. You need to have a commitment and an understanding of what it's actually going to take, because streaming is not easy. And if there's anyone out there telling you it is,
That's an understatement.
I would be scared to listen to that person because it is not. I have a full-time job.
There's a lot that goes into it.
POISIOnkill and Qui-Gon's have a full-time job, and it is a lot of work. Now, with that said, you can easily upgrade the complexity of what you're doing too. Like he said, we've upgraded our parts, but it's not necessary. Like, for example, you can stream direct from Xbox for, as long as you want. And then if I know people whose big concern was, I want overlays. Like, I really want overlays because they do so much for a stream. And they do. They're not necessary. They're nice. And you can do that for $7 or $8 a month. Well, I guess after maybe around 10 to 15 bucks a month. That is a pretty epic thing that you're gaining for the price that you're gaining it with. So even when you get to a point to where you're like, okay, I want to stick with it. If you're not in a position where you have a PC and you can start getting all the hardware that you need to, create a brand and what you feel is good quality, you can easily do that with programs still going direct from your Xbox, because I know a lot of people don't have a PC and they're expensive to get. So I would say that don't let the idea that you may or may not be able to afford something, because I know it's expensive, because I've paid for it. Don't let that stop you from taking the leap. If you're feeling bad, no joke, 3.5 months I think on the platform. 2 of my best streams came at a time when I was having home renovations done and I had no camera and I was streaming with my Astro headset. Played Minecraft, had averaged over 10 viewers 3 nights in a row. No cam, No, no fancy, no nothing, no overlays, no bots, no commands, no nothing. It was just me playing a game, chatting with the people that were in the channel. It can really be that simple to get started. So definitely don't let lack of hardware or software or anything like that be the reason you decide to not stream.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um,
If I may, Qui-Gon, before
that's fine. Go for it.
something that was said in the chat too, and I agree with it. I actually saw a tweet about it recently. Is I think the quality of the streamer is more important than the quality of the stream in the beginning,
100%.
especially
100%.
where let people gauge you by you and let the fancy stuff complement you. Don't let the fancy stuff try to make you something you're not.
Yep.
And honestly, I would say that it may even benefit you more to not be a face on your stream. Now, that could be debated, and there's no turnkey solution to being a successful streamer, obviously. Otherwise, we probably would have found it. Now, with that said, the idea that you are not, like, if you were not showing what you are or who you know what you look like or whatever like that, all people have to judge you off of is who you are as a streamer, which is a massive proponent of your success or failure.
So as far as I'll just let you guys know what I started with. Going all the way back to my time when I was still on Twitch, I was kind of lucky enough. I was able to, I built a PC in my senior year of high school, for like my senior project. Like I had to do a senior project to be able to graduate, and I built a PC, and my parents were kind enough to match any money that I racked together for it. So I was kind of lucky in that sense. But I can easily tell you, if you have a phone in your pocket, you have what you need to start making content. And I'm almost positive that everyone out here has a phone in their pocket. Maybe there's a few exceptions to that, but I can say that as a general rule, that tends to be the case. I know it may not necessarily be what you want to have to make your content, but everyone has these very powerful computers that they just walk around with on a day-to-day basis that you can easily start making content with. So what equipment do you need to get started? Pretty much a phone and access to internet. That's it. Those are like the bare minimum requirements for you to be able to make any type of content whatsoever. If you're wanting to do streaming in the same sense that we're doing it, then you're gonna probably have to have access to like an Xbox. And again, an Xbox is probably one of the more affordable ways to start creating content. You don't need to have the most perfect things in the world to get started. And one thing that I've heard Professor Broman say a lot, and I will echo him here, is that if you focus on perfecting your content before you actually start making the content, you're never going to make the content, because you will be so trapped in your own head on the idea of I'm not able to dish out the quality that I expect myself to be able to. And when it comes to something like live streaming, when it's not curated content the same way that YouTube is, there are going to be times when you aren't necessarily on your A game, but that's not always, it's inevitable. In the realm of live streaming, it is inevitable for you to not always be on your A game, and that is okay. If you are working at creating the content, you can put as much or as little effort into the production value of it as you want. So long as you got a phone and access to internet, or an Xbox and access to internet, you are pretty much good to start creating content. You're good. Just do it. You can worry about the details and evolve your content into what it's going to become as you go. I did not start with all these overlays and stuff that I have. I did not start with this mic that makes my voice sound crispy clear. I started with I used a headset mic.
It sounds hot.
It sounded a bit crispy.
I wasn't gonna say it, but we all hear it, you know.
No,
we do like it.
Yeah,
you're right.
I mean, like I started with a headset mic, and that is just, that didn't mean that I sounded like crap, but I didn't sound great. But I eventually got myself into a point where I could sound really good, and I like the audio quality that I have now. So
Got
it
you started.
yeah, I just decided to start. And that is the biggest thing that I can say for anyone out there. So long as you have access to internet and either a phone, an Xbox, or a PC of some type, doesn't even have to be a great PC. Just as long as you have access to internet and one of those forms of technology, you are able to start making content. So just freaking do it. That
Yep.
is the best thing that I can say.
And I think actually how he ended that is probably a good segue into question number 2, or really kind of idea
Point
number
number
2.
two, yeah.
Yeah, point number 2. A schedule. You know, a lot of. I think I saw it scrolling through chat, but quantity does not equal quality, right? And I'm a good example of that, in that I recently just had to cut back my schedule, and it beat me up for a couple of weeks, like while I was in talks with my wife about just in real life stuff. You know, we have 2 kids, we're busy, we're so busy, we both work, we have kids, it's nuts. And I really was worried that my channel was going to take a dive and or just totally fall flat. And so on top of having the equipment, or, you know, whatever, I would say that if you're worried about the time, again, do what you can with what you have. If you can only stream 1 day a week, stream 1 day a week. Guess what you can do every other day of the week? You can network, you can record, you can social media. I couldn't tell you how big of a tool social media is, and it's free for everybody. Similar to what Qui-Gon said about having the phone. If you have a phone, you can make a free email account. You can make free social media accounts, and literally nobody is not on Twitter. It's ridiculous. Like, people actually need to get off Twitter once in a day. Like, it's nuts.
No, I need my
What
Twitter.
you can do, dude. I'm telling you, man. I love Twitter. I hated Twitter before I got on Mixer, and then
Yeah,
I
I was the same
realized
boat.
a
Yeah, actually,
valuable tool,
me
like
too,
how
me too.
valuable of a tool Twitter really is, and I honestly love it. Like, I don't get on Facebook anymore, and that's not a knock on Facebook. Twitter is much easier to find the niche you're looking for and people who are also in it. But I digress a little bit. So yeah, like, if you're worried about how much you can stream, don't worry so much about how much. Worry about what you're pouring into it. If I go to work for 8 hours a day, I want to go there and be the best, give the best 8 hours I can, right? If you can only stream for 4 hours every few days, make that the best 4-hour stream that you could possibly put out with the equipment that you have and the accessibility to things that you have. So again, don't let a schedule be a stopper or a barrier.
Don't let the amount of time that you are capable of actually don't let
Right.
the frequency of your of the content that you put out, like how frequently you can put it out, be the hindrance to you actually starting making the content.
Right. With that said, I will say this also. Don't spread yourself so thin that your quality goes down.
Yes, do not do that.
Which I've done, and I'm sure everybody here has done. Like, oh man, if I can stream 40 plus hours a week, my content's going to be killing it. No, it's not. If your quality sucks, your quality sucks if it's 1 hour or if it's 50 hours.
I may stream
quality
40 hours a
content.
week, but I definitely did not start there, and had I tried to start there, I would have probably ended up hating streaming. I probably would have ended up hating it.
You can very much run yourself ragged and out of an idea, like a mindset of wanting to stream by streaming too much. And that's where I was at. Burnout.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's where I was at a few weeks ago. You know, I was exhausted just every night, but I felt like I had to go out and stream. And I didn't have to, and that's really the mindset that I took after a week or so of pouting about it, about having to cut down my schedule. I realized, look, and I even talked to these guys about it, and Angie, who's in chat, my mod, if I can provide 3 nights a week of really good quality content, then that's better than 6 or 7 days a week of mediocre content, right?
Yeah.
So definitely keep that in mind too.
I think
You
part
guys
of it
have something
too,
to add? Go for it.
starting from zero, I mean, that's the general piece here is if you're starting from zero and one finds you, you want them to know when they can find you again. So that
Yes.
1 becomes 2, becomes 3, becomes 4, becomes, I almost said PewDiePie, becomes Ninja's 75,000 plus, right?
PewDiePie's 101 million plus.
Right, and they all watched every video. None of them are botted, not botted, but fake. That campaign was so funny. Anyway, so I think the piece to it isn't just to have a schedule for your own sake so that you keep yourself, we're talking about the budget, don't go out and blow 1,000, 10,000, whatever kind of pocket cash you have. Don't just dump all that in the streaming. You haven't even done it before. Also, don't allow yourself to waste your time, because what if in 3 months you find out you hate this? Okay, you didn't waste money, but you did waste time, and you're not getting that back. You can earn more money, you're not going to earn more time. You can live healthy, but that's totally different time.
Yeah.
That's a different podcast. Find a PhD for that one, or an MD. I don't know how that works. Medicine. But when it comes to your schedule too, I think the most important piece is something you can stick to, day after week, after month, after year, after whatever. And that's going to change. It's going to be ebb and flow. It comes back to the social media. Is there a best platform? Probably somehow. I think it's best just to get started and to figure out which one you find a niche in. I know some people who kill it on Instagram, but they never touch their Twitter. I know some people who dominate the Twitter space, but they don't even know how to operate Facebook. And I think it's just a matter of finding the one that works for you and your community too. You may get started on that schedule, get a couple people that'll come back, and then you come to find out, oh, these people prefer Facebook. I'll try to curate towards Facebook.
For sure. Like, I am not good at Instagram, but don't test me because I will tag anybody on Twitter.
He means it.
And like I think
I mean, seriously, like within the first month I was tagging and Poison was like, dude, why? Like, what are you doing? And I was like, what are they gonna do? Not read my tweet? Like, I don't care. You're just gonna scroll past. Who's that guy? Okay, whatever. I mean, like, so you, like you said, you're gonna find where you're most comfortable, and that's going to come naturally. Don't force anything, because I guarantee you viewers will know.
Yeah. And as far as I'm gonna take like 2 steps back for just a second. As far as there's something that we totally looked over with that first question that we addressed. What equipment do I need to get started? 3 things really quick. Software programs. If you're on PC or even Xbox, Lightstream, OBS, Streamlabs, OBS, those 3 things. That's it. Search those up. You're good. Anyways, continuing on. Schedule for streaming. Sorry, wanted to make sure that we actually touched on that for just half a second.
That was really bugging him, guys.
It was actually really bugging me.
He's like, guys, we missed the point. We missed the point.
So
I know what's coming up next.
So scheduling for streaming. The 2 things that are, I would say, most important when you get started, outside of literally just choosing to make content, is consistency and patience. And I made a short video post on Instagram about this the other day. Consistency is easy enough, in my opinion. It is the easier of the 2. Not that doesn't mean it's like a walk in the park, but it is the easier of the 2, in my opinion. Consistency, you look at your schedule, you see what you are able to maintain over an extended period of time, and you say, okay, that's what I'm gonna do. The patience is where things start to really, that's always the challenge for myself, and I would imagine to an extent for you guys as well. Being willing to let things happen in the course of time where they're going to happen, and being willing to accept that, hey, I don't necessarily have control over the rate at which I'm growing, the rate at which my schedule allows me to grow, and I need to learn to be okay with that. It's hard, to do that. So that, I think that goes a little bit hand in hand with when you set a schedule for yourself, don't expect that is going to guarantee that you start to explode, because it won't. It guarantees that you will be easily accessible for the widest range of people in that time frame as possible, because they can expect you to be there. But you need to just wait and be patient. It will come with time. And that's something that I've really struggled with in the past. And I'd imagine, like I said, that you guys have probably experienced that to some extent.
Oh yeah, almost
No,
daily. It's a struggle.
I'm the greenest of the three of us in the stream dream, but even having less time than these guys, I can say, yeah, that's true. And that being said, I can only imagine what they've gone through. So you guys have got to have some thicker skin than me. If I may, can I take that Qui-Gon and push to the next topic we have here?
Let's go for it. Let's do it.
You mentioned something, letting people know what to expect. Branding.
Yeah.
This one's super important to me personally. This is actually on the list of things we have here, aside from some stuff we've added personally, aside from the, like pre-agreed, hey, topics we're going to cover.
Yeah.
I think branding is vastly important, because you don't just want people to know what to expect from you. And when they can expect that they could see you, you want people to know what they can expect to be attracted in terms of a community. Because when they come to hang out with you, there's also people in the chat. There's also people who are going to be on the Twitter too. And they might add some things they might not be comfortable with. Or what if they jump in your Discord and they see a lot of maybe not so safe for work items, or maybe some more humor than their parent might be comfortable with if they had seen it, things of that nature. And you want to have a branding that's consistent with that too. So you don't have to always say we're family friendly, things of that nature, but you want your branding to kind of scream that. Qui-Gon, he's got Star Wars. I love me some Star Wars. When I think of Star Wars, I don't think of inappropriate content. I mean, now I think of a bro, but there's that. Look at Diggin's stream right now. Tell me you don't see a chill guy with that. Look at it. He's just kind of leaning over a little bit. He's got the good tech around him. Actually, he's got a lot of cool lighting. He's kind of sitting there, just chill,
back.
He's doing his thing.
Yeah.
I'm too short.
You know what to expect with him. And if you
My chair back's high. I'm not 6'8" today, Angie.
You know what to expect though. And with us, positive poison. I mean, the word positive is in the name. You have to help people to know what to expect from the community that's going to grow around you, because as they invest in you, they're going to help you grow to where others can come around to invest in you as well. And that means one people becomes 20 people. I think that's something to be mindful of, is to make sure people know what to expect when you're not just 2 viewers, but you're 20 viewers. Who's not the other guy, but the other friggin' 18, 19 people? You gotta let them know. And branding to me is hugely important. And plus, as you grow too, you talk about, again, this is gonna be more stuff, but sponsorships and growth. And when it comes to networking, helping them to know at a quick glance what is involved here, and not just know, oh, well, this is that poison guy. He's just bald and he does some weird panda things sometimes. You want them to know how this happened. What at a quick glance, a branding statement. McDonald's, we all know it's fast food because they brand themselves as fast. Louisiana, fast. Little things like that too. We know it. So we'll break that one down, I know, into more detail in the future. But when the word branding comes up, don't ignore it. Don't pretend it's garbage. If you really want this to go somewhere, please understand the definition of the word and be ready for, I'm going to say, a future podcast.
Yeah. And
and I would say, go ahead.
What I would say, so this is my personal approach to branding, and maybe I have a bit of a different view on branding than you do, Poison, which is fine. Is branding important when starting? I would say no. And hear me out on this. The reason I say I don't believe branding is super important when you're starting is because you are still trying to determine who you are as a broadcaster. Obviously, there are things that you as a person want to present, and you like a general, I guess, feel to your channel and your content that you want to create. But does that mean that you have to have everything spelled out for you right at the get-go? No, because I definitely did not have a really fleshed out brand for what I wanted my content to be when I started. I developed it as time went on, and even now I'm looking at the potential for other kind of paths to do with branding. It is still always going to be a Star Wars focus, because Star Wars is something that I love. I have always loved, and I will most likely always will love. But
It's a trap.
but it's something that I think is not. You do not have to have every little bit of what you want your persona and brand to be decided before you start out. Some people know exactly what they're gonna do, and that's great. That's awesome, but you don't have to. So
But that's a really rare case.
Yeah, it's very rare for people to actually have all that fleshed out going into it. So
Well,
sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say I think I can speak on this because I'm literally going through a rebrand right now. So I like what you said though. Don't start out thinking that you know exactly what you want to be, because there have been many times where I'm like, like I cuss in daily conversation. Like it's become natural to me. But when I approach my stream and my content and my channel, I don't want it to be that way. And that's something that I never thought I would do, honestly, because it's never been a thing that I thought about. But you start to evolve. The more content you create, you begin to realize not really what works and what doesn't, but what works for you and what doesn't. It's like, what kind of people do I want in my channel? What kind of environment am I trying to build here?
Within your brand,
like and
make something that's
these are
genuine
questions
to you.
probably that are really good to think about, but you're probably not going to know the answers on day 1 or day 2 or maybe even month 2. But definitely something to continue exploring.
Yeah, make whatever you flesh out your brand to be, make sure it's genuine to you. Don't do something simply because you think it's going to be successful. Do something that maybe has like potential, like branding potential in the future, but keep it genuine to what you love and the type of thing you want to communicate and the type of thing you want to create. I love Star Wars, so I went with Star Wars. Simple as that. I mean, I turned it into something that has a little more definition to it, but I knew like I wanted to do something that had to do that was related to Star Wars in some way, shape, or form. So I did some brainstorming, took some time, and eventually I figured it out. And it's okay if you take some time to figure it out as well.
No, and I agree. I mean, I came into this with the Xbox gamer tag POISIONkill, and once I realized I wanted this to go somewhere, the branding topic came up, and I had to find out how to spin that in a happy way. We're family friendly, us poison killers. But it does come naturally. I guess I think the points they just made are 100%. I agree. I think what I should probably reiterate what I said very briefly, just to specify. It's not to walk into this with, this is my brand, this is my logo, these are my colors, this and this. Not all these things fleshed out. But don't think of branding as a bad word.
Yeah.
Be mindful that it is going to be an incredibly valuable tool and asset in your tool belt.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
I think we've kind of covered that pretty effectively. Yeah. I've shared all my thoughts that I kind of have. I think we're pretty much good to move on to the next question. The next question that we kind of laid out for ourselves is a big one that a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about. So let's go ahead and address this. How do I get my name out there?
Can I start this one off?
You feel free to.
Follow for follow doesn't work.
There you go, right there.
Enough said.
Shut it down. Okay, we're good. Move on.
Podcast over. See you later, guys. See you next week. No, I think if you guys don't mind, I'd like to take off on this one.
Go for it. Sure.
because so I came in after these two guys had gotten involved with Dad Got Games community, and honestly, get used to that name. You'll probably hear it a lot on this podcast because
Yeah.
it's where we kind of started us. Yeah. um,
It's true.
it's impressive. It's impressive because I came in here similar to the title of this podcast, starting from zero. Right? I didn't know anyone on the platform. I didn't know anything about the platform. And this is not Facebook. You cannot share into groups. You will not just randomly get found while somebody is scrolling through a video feed on Facebook. And Facebook's exposure level is astronomical. Like it is nutty how much exposure you can get if you know how to work that platform.
And if you have
Which
money
you
to
don't
throw
have
at their
on Mixer.
advertisement system.
Yeah, and money too. Now, with that said, I've seen a lot of, actually I've had more than one person ask me, well, how do you get found on Mixer? Well, how do you get found anywhere? You go engage with people that are there. You know, if you want to meet new people, you don't sit in the corner of the room not talking to anybody. Please do not announce you are a streamer.
Like at all.
And this is one of the biggest things that one of the biggest compliments I ever got from Dad Got Game is we were having a talk on stream, on his stream one day, and he said that one of the things that caught his eye about me was that I never mentioned I was streaming. I didn't even, it wasn't even a topic. It wasn't even a thought, honestly. I remember going into his channel thinking this guy has like an unlimited amount of energy. Like, this is awesome. I love being in here. This is cool. And his chat was, I'll talk to anybody. So I go, which is not easy for some. So I went in, hey, what's up, man? Just started a conversation. His chat was chiming in and they were really cool. Big Mama Steph, Thickest Earl, Salito, all those guys and girls, man, they just joined in. And the biggest step that I made in the right direction was creating a familiar, I got a familiarity with those people as a viewer and as a member of the community, not as a streamer. And that was huge, it continues to be. And I do that everywhere I go, because when you go into a channel and you're like, hey, I'm a streamer, notice me, they're not going to notice you, Yeah. Right.
Saw that coming.
and so how do I get my name out there? Well, you get your name out there, but don't do it from the wrong, do it from the heart. Do it because you want to be a part of something bigger than yourself, not because you want people to go to your channel.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people ask, like, okay, well, like you're saying do it for these reasons, but the question is, I think the question becomes how is me just being there, being in people's communities, how is that going to let them know that I am a streamer? I guarantee you, because it's happened to me on more than one occasion, people will find out that you are a streamer the longer you are active within a community. I guarantee you it works. It sounds like wishful thinking, but I promise you, the more active you are in communities, the more you just simply hang out and develop friendships and connections with as many people as possible, people will simply they will eventually find out that you are a streamer. Sorry, go ahead.
I will say I never mentioned it ever in Dad's channel, and he figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, as far as me goes with Dad, I went to him at one point, and this is where like everyone's experience and journey is going to be completely different. The steps that they take to get to where they're at is going to be very different. But I told you guys right at the beginning, like, Dad Got Games channel like really inspired me to start taking streaming very seriously, in a way that I hadn't done before. After a while of me getting things going, I asked him about being involved with the stream team, and at the time there was just a lot of stuff going on. He was extraordinarily busy. He had just recently become part of like Team Passion, and there was like business like partnerships and stuff that he was dealing with. So he was super busy. So the answer at the time was like no for me to be part of the stream team, but that was okay. Like when and at that point I had been involved in his community for an extended period of time. He had seen my name a lot. I had more than 100 hours in his channel type of thing. So is there any set number to like, oh, if I spend this many hours within a stream, is it okay for me to like talk to the person? I mean, you kind of like have to figure that out for yourself type of thing. Like it comes with just like, if you feel like you have a good relationship / friendship with the person that you want to approach, then you kind of make that decision for yourself. There's no science to it. But you have to be genuine about it. And that's something that only you can truly know what your intentions are behind it. People can try to read your intentions, but you're the only one who can really be like the one who can be honest with yourself. When I first started streaming, I was not honest with myself about what I wanted from my content. And I'm talking back when I was on Twitch. And that led me to that disingenuousness, if that's even a word, kind of led me to start being disingenuous. Yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's
totally a word.
Okay, cool. We're good.
Yeah.
Disingenuity. It led me to eventually kind of hate what I was doing for a little bit, because I wasn't being honest with myself about what I actually wanted from my content, and so I'm getting a little bit off topic.
We see where you're going. I know.
Yeah.
Speaking from experience, and now none of us here are huge by any means. You know, the people we talk about, we're name dropping some very large, very influential people, but even at our size, people will still come in with, you know, POISIONkill TV. Yo, man, nice setup. Wow, what mic is that? You know, on my stream, I use, well, that's not networking. You know, networking isn't jumping in someone's stream and hoping that by the time they hit the in-stream button, you've gotten a shout out. Networking is jumping in and getting to know more than just the person in front of the camera, the person playing the game or whatever they're doing in the stream. Maybe it's IRL, it doesn't matter. It's more than just getting them to notice you. It's the piece that matters more is getting to know their community, because those are the people that support them. You want to get to know them, let them get to know you. And like Qui-Gon said, they're going to eventually find out you're a streamer, whether you like it or not. They probably are. If they don't find out, chances are the streamer will eventually find out. They might host you someday, and you're going to have your chat filled up with this just insane long list of, you know, what would it be? You know, data raid in progress, or the force raid, Noggle raid, positively poisoned. It doesn't matter. Somehow they're going to see. That's happened to me before. And I remember a friend who I made in another community jumped in, and the first words out of his mouth during this raid, I've got 100 messages just flying up on my screen, and I see this, it stands out to me to this day. It said, dude, I didn't even know you were a streamer. I modded him right then and there. He's a great friend to this day. You know, it was just a moment of, it was humility, like, okay, good. That means I'm not self-promoting. I feel good about getting to know the community. They liked me for me. They didn't like me because maybe they wanted to stream someday too, and they wanted to maybe leech off of my potential success. Or maybe they wouldn't want to, they want to like me to kind of be nice with the streamer because they're not being mean. And, you know, you don't want to make it political. You don't want to make it weird. You want to just have the balance of be you and let them come to you for the fact that you're you.
Yep.
I mean, it's a fun thing too. Mods will get follows.
Well, and definitely approach networking, because I'm going to be honest, networking on Mixer is make or break.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
If you're, with the way that the platform is set up, if you are not networking, you will fail.
Like beyond that, I think,
or I won't say fail. It will take you an immensely longer time to grow.
I think it's true for all platforms, though.
Yes, I would say it's true
like like I mentioned, Facebook. You know, they have a platform where you can build your own exposure, so to speak, and it may not be super effective, but Mixer has less than that. So you know,
I would say regarding that point that Mixer has probably the most community centric average like streamer base or whatever you want to call it. They have the most community centric approach to their platform than I have seen from any of the other alternative platforms out there. And that in and of itself is going to breed an environment where when you are actively working to try to make friends, it is going to pay off for you, I think, in a much larger sense than it would for other platforms. Maybe that won't always be the case, but I think that stands true for the most part. Also really quick note, lurking in someone's stream is not networking. Like if you really do want to stream, like, don't get me wrong. Anyone who lurks in my channel, I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for spending as much time in my channel as you do, and I'm sure it goes for them as well. But if you really want to start getting your name out there, start properly networking, you can no longer afford to stay silent in chat any longer. You need to be talking, you need to be interacting with the person who's streaming, you need to be interacting with everyone that's in the chat, actively working to try and be an active participant in the conversations that are having. Because if you're just lurking, like, someone knows that you are there, but no one knows who you are.
And definitely, like what I was gonna say a minute ago, I forgot, so I'm glad you kind of took off with that. It is okay to have an end goal for the relationship that you're trying to build. You know, it's okay to want to be able to help build each other up. Like, yes, I want to be involved in your community in a way that benefits me. You also have to be bringing something to the table. You know, you have to figure out, and I think this is part of branding in itself too. You have to figure out what value you can bring somebody else. What would make them want to invest in me and my content? Because if I'm just like, hey, I'm a streamer, can I get a shout out, please? What did you do for the partner whose channel you're in? You've done nothing for them. You're most likely banned, or at least timed out. In some cases, it's a frying pan. But you know, it's okay to have a goal for the relationship that you're trying to build, but I definitely think you need to approach it from I'm a nobody type standpoint. Like, I'm nobody to this person in terms of what I can bring to their table for them. So let me just be a friend. That's the best thing you can do in any community, especially on Mixer. Just go in there and be a friend, and don't be afraid to leave that community either. If you don't feel like it meshes well with you, like I've went into some communities or some streamers channels and I'm like, you know what, not really my type. No, that doesn't cause an issue. That's just, you're not going to mesh with everyone, you know. So definitely have an approach that comes from somewhere other than how can you benefit me while I do nothing for you, you know.
Yeah. And like he said, it's okay to have an end goal, so to speak, with someone. A lot of people may kind of take that statement and view it as very manipulative. If you genuinely enjoy the person that you want to eventually work with, I don't think that's manipulative. And it's something that in the future could be mutually beneficial for both of you. And it's okay to want to have something come out of that relationship, but you also need to be okay if nothing ever does come out of that relationship. It's a hard balance, in my opinion, to find.
If building friendships and relationships within other communities didn't work, you would not be watching this podcast.
True. Very, very true.
This is a prime example of networking actually working. And these three guys coming together doing this podcast wasn't even me going into Poison's channel or Qui-Gon's channel. We all went to somewhere else. So our network, because we had a common friend in Dad Got Game in his community, and we were okay with talking to the community that was around him, we met other people. And so then our network just expanded times 3, times 2 or 3, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like a snowball, you know? If you can meet one person, then you can meet other people within that community, and then you're slowly building your network. It starts with being a friend, in my
Exactly.
opinion.
No, it totally does. It totally does. So,
I know we did talk about going over a little bit today, being the first
Yeah,
one, just kind of
yeah.
having the intro points in there too.
Yeah.
But I think for the sake of continuing, are we ready for the next point?
I
'Cause
think
yeah,
so,
I think
yeah.
we pretty
A
much
pretty
covered everything
powerful
that
one.
We could
we
talk a
can
lot
cover.
on
Okay.
number 4. I mean,
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And again, all of these, realistically, depending on how this goes, they're probably going to be broken down into their own podcasts. Because we
Yeah.
do have our own opinions, our own feelings and thoughts, and it's
Yeah.
a good way
Or
to.
you may just get a podcast where we have no idea what to talk about, and we just ramble on for it, and you're still gonna love it. So
Yeah, be ready for some.
You are
pandas
going to
around.
like it, all right? And you love it.
You
will
lightsaber
like it.
battles.
You better like it.
We're talking about lurking being not the most effective way. It's a good way to start, I would say, if you want to seed the community.
Yeah,
Do I want to get myself involved in here? Do I want them to know I'm a streamer, or are those not the kind of people I want to come my way?
Yeah.
That being a way to start. Talk about where do we start content creation? So where do you start networking, getting your name out there? What about content creation?
What
I
platform
think
do
for
I
me-
start on?
Yeah, where, what, how, why? There's
all of them.
Yeah, the who, what, and why are important questions. In this case, obviously, to the beginning, you have the where as well and things of that nature. And how, which isn't a W, but if you have how, where do you start your content creation? And if you're not talking about the platform piece, we're obviously going to be biased. We're going to say Mixer. I think that's a decision for you to make. I think Deacon and Qui-Gon have their own opinion on it, but personally, I'm gonna say my bias is obviously Mixer. This is where I want to grow. This is where I've found such great people and want to keep meeting more people like all of you. In terms of where to start with what content, I mean, whatever comes natural. Like we all kind of start off as just started. For me, it was Titanfall 2 and a phone game. I mean, these are not great streamers, but they were true to me.
Yeah, honestly, I think we could kind of wrap 4 and 5 almost together. In a way.
Yeah.
Where should I start my content creation, and what quality standard should my content be?
My starting point, I would say just pick a platform that you're most comfortable on. And at the time for me, when I started, it was Facebook. I was on there all the time, every day. I knew the platform. I knew how to work it. I could get around on it. And then they came out with Facebook Gaming, and it's like, oh, dude, shoe in for Facebook Gaming. It's ground floor. It's going to blow up. It's going to be great. And that was me testing it. I went and I streamed there for 6 months and didn't have great growth and stuff like that. And I couldn't pinpoint why, and that really bothers me. Like, I couldn't figure out what I could do differently. And I've gotten better since then. I couldn't figure out what I could do differently to grow my channel. And so I tested Mixer for a little bit, and I was like, dude, like Poison mentioned earlier, or I don't know who mentioned it. Somebody mentioned community on Mixer, and that their Mixer is basically built as a community. And so it feels for me personally, my personal experience is that from my previous platform, Mixer feels much more tight-knit, much more let's pull everybody up. Now that I've made it up here, I'm going to reach back and I'm going to pull the next group up. I'm not going to step on you guys to get to that position. And that was a big deal for me. Like, I knew I wanted to build a community, and I found Mixer, and I felt like that's where I could do it. And so that's where I've been. And it's really that simple. It takes time to test the waters, but it's definitely going to be worth your while if you're not all certain of where you
Remember
want
what
to
we
be.
said about patience?
Yep.
Yeah. So you guys cool if I go ahead and take this one real quick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Where should I start my content creation? I think that the answer to that question lies within what your goal is for your content creation.
Exactly.
Do you want to do this as a hobby and just potentially make a few extra bucks on the side so that you never have to pay for another video game out of pocket again? Well then, potentially, as of this moment right now, Twitch might be a better option for you if that is what your goal is, because it has probably the most accessible open monetization when compared to any of the other platforms out there.
Currently.
Yes. Mixer has stuff that they're working on to make open monetization a much it's going to become much more easy to monetize your content on this platform in the very near future. They haven't actually rolled anything out with that, but they have told us it's coming. I'm just speaking for literally today, right now, as of September 10th, 2019. Twitch is the best.
At 10:15 p.m.
At 10:15.
Best time.
8:50. Okay.
PM.
I'm not jumping into that. Nope. West Coast, Best Coast. But I'm okay. You know what? Anyways,
sorry,
continue.
stop focusing on my time zone. Continue.
So as of right now, Twitch is probably the best place for you. If you just want it to be a hobby and you want to potentially make an extra few dollars on the side, Twitch might be a good option for you. If you're kind of looking at things from a more business focused approach in the same manner that we are, then Facebook gaming or Mixer are probably the better options. When I first started on Mixer, it was like I've been streaming for almost a year now. Like at the very end of this month, I will have been streaming on a schedule, albeit increasing schedule, for a full year. Discoverability on Mixer has become a little more difficult, especially with the ninja move, with him coming over here, and that's a whole nother topic that we'll probably cover at some other point in time. But it doesn't change the fact that because Mixer is still a much smaller platform and still realistically in its infancy, well, maybe not infancy, but you guys get the idea. It's in its toddler years.
It's a toddler.
Yeah, it's in its toddler years.
It's a grumpy, tantrum-throwing toddler.
It makes discoverability on this platform and a lot easier. And there's something to be said about instead of being a medium-sized fish or even a smaller fish in a massive ocean, aka Twitch, you could argue that it's better being the biggest fish in a lake, aka Mixer or Facebook gaming. It depends on what your goals are for streaming, but I would say you need to be able to answer the question of what do you want from your content before you decide. And if you don't know what you want from your content yet, that's fine. Use something like Restream.io or is it Caster? No, it's not Caster. What the heck is the other one called? Is it Caster? Okay, well, yeah. So those are both. Yeah. So those are both restreaming things that you can use to stream to multiple platforms at the same time. I would not recommend doing that for more than the first 2 months or 3 months, because the amount of effort you would have to put into managing 2 separate communities, I can tell you just from my side, the business aspect of trying to manage everything that I'm doing on one platform is already task enough. Trying to do that on multiple platforms, I don't think it would be worth the effort that you'd be having to put in.
Yeah, could you imagine me spamming my bot in 2 channels I did yesterday? You want to know something crazy?
Sure.
Sidebar, squirrel. I freaking left tonight to go to my son's t-ball game, came back, my bot was spamming a command.
That's amazing. That's
oh,
amazing.
Man.
I wasn't even home to run the command.
Anyone who came in with the giveaway, one person started it, and it was just anyone who came in after that. It was just a cascade. Oh man, I love it. But anyways, that's kind of where I land with that. For
with
me,
Restream,
sorry, go ahead.
I'm just kind of while we're on that piece of this with Restream. We're talking about branding and networking and stuff like that. You have to double that effort. You have to network with double the communities.
Yes.
Because the thing is, if Twitch is going to take off and your Mixer streaming isn't, or vice versa, or for some of us, Facebook gaming, if one of those is going to take off and the others aren't, you most definitely have to consider, if it does, who do you have to fall back on to continue to grow and to grow alongside and to learn from? Otherwise, you're gonna go to your mixer friends and say, "Hey, I just took off on Twitch. You want to help me?" I mean, there's gonna be a little sourness in the air, I would imagine. So keep that in mind. You have to double everything you normally have to do, unless you do want to do it for fun. You just want to expand your reach, sure. But keep in mind too, even despite Restream, you have different latency between the platforms. You have, well, maybe not with Restream.
Mixer FTL for the win.
Nowadays.
What?
Low latency. Come on,
What?
come on, FTL. I can snap, and you've heard it within like a second. That's amazing.
One last note I think I want to add to the start of content creation. If you are on a limited schedule, right, don't be afraid to utilize YouTube and or Twitter for something like VODs or clips. If you're not good with YouTube editing or video editing and stuff, which I am not, dude,
Me neither.
if you're running on an Xbox, which a ton of people are on Mixer, xboxdvr.com, upload your clips automatically. You can create GIFs of them, and in between the entirety of your clip, you can download clips to your computer and then turn around and upload those to Twitter. Boom, you have content on Twitter.
Fun fact of the day,
It's
I
really
had
that simple.
literally, until you said that, I had never once heard of that before in my life. See, guys, you learn something new every single day. Oh
Wait,
my
what'd you
gosh.
say you cut out?
I've never heard of that before. Literally never
Oh,
once.
Yeah. So it's crazy.
So, I mean, there's, anyways, I feel like that one is pretty self-explanatory. Kind of figure out what your goal is with streaming. And then if you really have no clue, restream to several different platforms out there to kind of get an idea of how each one works, what features you like, comparing the features that each one has. Mixer has very distinctive features from Twitch and
Like a great
Facebook gaming,
jawline.
and those features really help I create a different environment that I have taken to in a very positive manner. I love the features that Mixer provides, and you don't get these types of features on the platforms like Twitch or on the platform like Twitch or a platform like Facebook Gaming. They just don't have them. It's a different approach that they take, and that's okay. And that's what the purpose of restreaming would be, for you to find out which interface best suits what you want from your content.
Screenshots are content too.
That's true.
Just
It's
wanna
very
point that
true.
out.
Yeah, you should see some
Alright,
of the
I
screenshots
think-
that have been taken of me.
I think we're ready to move on to our fifth and final point of the evening. Would you guys say that's true?
Yes, sir. I would agree
We
with that.
touched on it
So-
a lot too. It might be a small one.
Yeah, this shouldn't be too long. We've kind of touched on this a little bit. The idea or the thought that we had was, what quality standard should my content be? One of you guys want to take it away?
Sure. I'll go ahead and start off. It doesn't matter.
Whoa! This is a family show. Whoa.
What quality
What the bleep is
should
happening right
my
now?
content be? In
Yeah,
my
it doesn't have a
opinion,
bleep, but
in my opinion, this one is very, very easy to answer. You put out if you have the ability to make the crispiest 4K curated content that the world has ever seen, then do it. But if you don't want to put in the effort, that's fine. You don't have
But
to.
do not do it anything in 4K, please.
Yeah, don't actually do things in 4K. It's not actually there as far as like internet stuff goes
Because
yet.
one of your
Maybe on
viewers,
YouTube,
like
but
me, might be watching on a potato, and I'm not going to be able to watch it.
The quality of your content and the the production value of your content, it's gonna be what you want it to be. If you're concerned about your actual capabilities of the content that you're capable of producing, say you don't have the ability to make crazy 4K beautiful looking content, that's totally fine. It really does not matter when starting how good your stream or videos really are, because you're just starting. You're still trying to figure everything out. The only thing that I will say you should make sure is at least semi-decent is your audio quality. Because you can watch video that looks crappy all day, but if you join in and it's just you're gonna leave that thing within 5 seconds.
Hold on. What was that?
Hold on, I gotta leave this stream real quick. Hold on, I gotta mute somebody, guys. That's the GIF I was looking for. I couldn't find it.
Anyone ready to go
Got
at Solar?
Oh, speak of the devil. It's funny you should say that.
Anyways, so the only thing that I would say needs to be at least semi-decent is your mic quality. And there's a lot of very affordable options out there for someone who is looking to get at least something. Like you could get yourself, I don't know, like an Astro A10 headset, or you could get yourself like a HyperX Cloud headset for like 40 or 50 bucks or 60 bucks, something like that. And is it going to sound amazing? No. But is it going to be workable for just getting started? Absolutely. I literally used like a very crappy Turtle Beach, and I actually still have that headset that I occasionally use. Like wireless headset that was designed for Xbox on my PC. Do you know how many issues you run into when you're using something that's designed specifically for Xbox and you're trying to use it with a PC? There's literally no like control for what you can do with
other
it.
things. Yeah.
So like use what you have available to you. If you don't have anything available to you, mow a few lawns and get yourself like 40-50 bucks or something like that, and you will have enough to get yourself something that is mildly decent. So
yeah, and I would say a big thing about audio is the environment that you're in.
yes.
I have to do a lot of stuff for mine because I'm in a room full of hard, flat surfaces. So I don't want to sound.
Issues. What?
Yeah,
No.
right. You know,
What?
whatever, guys. You will never stream in a concrete box. You will never have issues again in your whole life. Promise. Proven theory. And there are things to mitigate that, especially if you have a setup where you can run software like Streamlabs. For example, I run a compression plugin so that my voice doesn't peak, because if I play a game like Apex, or if some stupid archer is attacking me in Minecraft because they're perfect shots and I don't want to talk about it, and I'm yelling at the game, I don't want to hurt you guys' ears. So, there are things you can do with what you would call low quality equipment or low tier equipment to make it sound better, until you can get to a point where you're buying better equipment, because honestly, quality does come at a cost, and so you will find yourself spending more money and getting equally, the quality will scale as well, but that doesn't have to be where you start. Like he said, an A10 headset, I mentioned earlier, I've streamed with only my Astro A40s and it sounded fine. People told me it sounded fine, and I double checked a few times, so yeah, definitely audio I think would be my main focus as well, especially knowing what I know now. But if you consider your equipment low quality or cheap or whatever you want to call it, definitely don't let that stop you. You could find help from people who have done it, who have been there, or you could just research online and find ways to beef up that equipment as well as you can.
Yep.
I think part of something to consider here is, in terms of quality,
I'm out of water.
where to start. I'm gonna say what you can do. Is it something that you might watch? It might not be, but you also might not find yourself wanting to be this for a while.
Do it, Angie.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, sure, go ahead and spend $400 on a Go XLR and a big old mic that you can, why not just buy the Blue Yeti, like biggest things that they got out there or something like that. You got thousands of dollars, sure, go for it. Sorry.
Whoa, calm down. Calm down here.
Angie, you're getting him all worked up.
The Cosmic Council has some, shall we say, energy.
Yeah, we'll say that. We'll call it that.
Anger
issues.
What you talking about?
I'm not angry. I think something to consider is, despite the price that can bring more instantaneous quality, that you can't necessarily replace with a free product, but for very cheap or also free product, voice meter you can get for stupidly cheap, like $5 to $10 donation. I think it's a donoware, right? That's all it takes, $5 to $10. You can get voice meter. If you're willing to learn the complexities of something like that, I think it's banana voice meter or voice meter banana.
Voice meter.
You're willing to
banana,
learn that. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just got yourself, a
You would
simulated.
know that if you didn't have a Go XLR.
I just got it today, bro. I've used it before though. It was tough, but once you get it, you just saved yourselves hundreds of dollars plus, right?
Yeah.
Talk about that with
I think
Mike too.
hold on,
Like
real
Deacon
quick.
with
I think
with
this
Mike.
I think this brings up a good point. In terms of like hardware and software, hold that up again, Poison. Your Go XLR.
that Go XLR.
So that piece of equipment is $400, right? I can accomplish close to the same thing, not at the quality or the standard that provides, but I use voice meter banana. I have multiple channels and inputs and outputs, and I can control my audio for nearly free at a pretty decently advanced level.
Yeah.
So definitely don't assume that you have to have the most expensive toy on the market, no matter how much you want it. But it's okay to not have that fancy equipment and stuff, because there are tools out there that people have built where you can get the same, or somewhat close to the same product, right?
Yeah.
And product, I mean your content.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is a pretty clean way to say it. There's one other question that I think a lot of people tend to ask. I've never got this question personally, but I have seen it asked many times, which is, and it can be tied in with standard or quality standard. How do I make my voice sound good? That is something that you are going to have to research and figure out for yourself. Literally just search like
You get a lifetime license to voice mod.
you just literally search, like, Google, like, how do I make my voice sound good in a live streaming format type of thing, and read the first articles that pop up, first 5, 6, 7 articles that pop up. You will get a pretty good idea of how to do it. It is going to take time, but audio can be a very fickle thing to deal with.
Oh my gosh. And never update your Windows ever in your entire life. Never do it. Because you'll get it perfect. You're going to sound crispy and clean. And then you're going to update your stupid Windows, and it's going to be back to using a potato for a microphone. I use potatoes a lot around here, so you guys are just going to have to hang with me.
So, but anyways, that is, I mean, I've pretty much covered everything that I want to cover or address within those questions. What about you guys?
Yeah, no, I think we hit some solid points, and hopefully, I feel like we gave some pretty solid advice. Hopefully, you guys value in it. But I think that wraps up. Not really what I could say, but our time frame.
Yeah, I mean,
if I could cover one thing we didn't quite have on, it'll take me 10 seconds.
That's fine, that's
my
fine.
gosh!
I'm sorry.
Oh my lord!
I'm done. I'm leaving.
Flow. We're talking about.
Yeah.
We're talking about the new things. I think flow is a big one. When someone jumps in a chat, especially if you're new, oh my gosh, they're gonna give you a chance. Sure, maybe you hope so, but flow. You may even need to do some local recordings. Look, you may have to stare at your VODs. Watch them and see what did I do right or wrong. And if you can't come up with conversations to keep having, even when you're just practicing offline, in your own head, offline. By offline, I mean off stream, by just running through Halo and just doing a campaign, just commentating on the dialogue. Maybe it's the graphics or something like that. Maybe a memory you have and how it reminds you of a pizza. What's your favorite pizza? Just let the conversations keep going. If you can't do that, watch the VOD and learn. If it's not working.
Play Gears 5 on
Play
Insane.
Gears of Halo, Theft Auto 5, and don't okay. I'm not. No flashbacks. I can't do it. I can't do it right now. I'm not gonna do it.
Oh my gosh. I was but 25 when the bomb struck.
Okay,
whatever.
so
Music
do
fills
we
the gap.
wanna-
That's
Do
what
we
I
want to take a couple of questions?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, people
so,
are still hanging out. People don't seem in a hurry to leave. So
yeah,
let's-
so like
let's hang
we're
out.
we've kind of
So-
covered what we want to cover now. So we're gonna say open book for a bit.
I
I know
think
one we had earlier was about social media. We talked about that a little bit though. No preferred place. It's more really of where you're most comfortable. I think we talked about that a little bit, right?
Yeah. I mean, I would say like the ideal thing to do in every situation, and again, this is ideal. This is not. It's ideal. Put all the content out there on every platform you possibly can all the time. That's the ideal thing to do. Sometimes you just can't really do that. Sometimes it is very difficult for you to get comfortable on a platform. And so maybe in the future you want to get back to that platform, but it's okay to just take a step back, focus on a few things to start off, and then kind of work your way on expanding out, because you really should be doing your best to like be active on every platform that's out there. I suck at being active on Instagram and YouTube. I'm terrible at it.
They're tough.
They are
So-
very hard for me to do. Go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. I
Uh,
thought you were done. You cut out, so I thought you were.
no,
done.
you're fine. You're fine. Go for it. I was pretty much wrapped up.
Well, are you wrapped up on that question?
Yeah.
Okay. So when I see from Pastel, what do you look for in VODs? This is an interesting topic to me because I just actually had somebody. I got to a spot where I didn't feel like I was growing or really putting out good content, and I was kind of getting demoralized about it. Really demotivated. And it's hard. You become it, at least for me, this is my experience. I become kind of glazed over when I'm staring at something that I've done for so long. It happens in my day job because I design buildings for a living. And staring at plans or just staring at anything, you kind of become blind to mistakes that you may or may not have made, right? And so I looked for a member of the Dad Nation. I went to him, and I went to a member of the Dad Nation who does this much better than me in terms of like notating what people have done and stuff. And he looked over some of my VODs, and engagement is a huge deal, and something you'll have to understand and be good at or get good at. Whenever you're starting out, you probably won't have viewers, and I'm just going to be real with you. You probably won't. A good rule of thumb is the first 3 months you're going to be playing and streaming to yourself. You have to be comfortable talking to yourself like people are there, right? So definitely engagement, I would say, is one of them. Try to keep a conversation flowing. If you're describing what you're going to do in the game, what the game is about, what your plan is to execute a certain thing, like say you're playing Apex. Oh, I'm gonna go this way, and the reason I did this is because of XYZ, blah 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 blah. So engagement was a huge thing that came out of my peer review, so to speak. And it's been extremely beneficial and something that I'm really focusing on. And so I would say that was like my number one thing coming out of that is also make sure your info is correct. Where people can find you, your Discord link if you have one, your Twitter handles, your Facebook handles, your whatever platform you want people to look for and find you on. Make sure that information is up to date, right?
Double check your links too.
Yes, and double check your links, because like Discord links, if you don't do it properly, they can expire and things like that. And it's good to refresh your memory on that so you can talk about it easily too, right? So yeah, definitely I would say the top two really is number one, engagement when nobody's there. And it's not easy to do. Poison is fantastic at it. I am absolutely horrible at it, because I really feed off of a conversation. So it's been a big learning curve for me to get around that. And then secondly, make sure that all your ducks are in a row in terms of information and your about page and things like that.
I've been bad at
Take
that.
30
You guys-
seconds to run through your page as if you were a viewer for the first time.
Yeah.
Click Instagram, click Twitter, click Facebook, YouTube, dono, merch, anything you might have in there. Heck, I don't care if it's a link to your favorite YouTube video because you want that in your bio because it's got a cute panda rolling around on the ground. Whatever it takes, just click it all. Does it all work? Lead to where it should, where you want it to. You know, is it smooth? Does it look okay? Does it scale well on your phone, your iPad, your computer? You know, some of those things are more. We want to get into this more intense than just starting. But
Yeah.
Yeah. S-
So I
So-
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Did you have a
Well,
question?
I was just gonna say, unless you guys have something else to add, do we want to move on to the next guy? Because I know we have several questions that we kind of.
yeah, a lot of good questions
Yeah,
from the chat
yeah.
actually.
So are you
Yeah,
guys
no,
okay to
go-
move to the
go
next one?
for it.
Okay, so next one came from Cryptic. Do you think you impact people's lives?
That's the one I was gonna bring up
Absolutely.
next.
And I don't say that in the manner of like, oh, look at me, I'm such a good person, I'm having an impact in a person's life. I look at that as a responsibility, because I understand that in the content that I'm making, I'm trying to provide an environment where people can come to have a blast, and realistically, my objective with my content is to help lead people towards being the best individual, like the best version of themselves that they can be, first and foremost. And I would say, first, and secondly, I would say honestly, this is probably more important than the first, is communicating to people that they are loved, valuable, and not alone. That is huge with what I want my content to be and what I want it to communicate. That type of approach that I take is inevitably going to have an impact on people's lives, simply because when they choose to return, when they choose to invest their time into what we're making here within our communities, it's going to affect them just by default, because that's how we are as humans. We are people who search for connection. We are people who desire to be involved in one another's lives inherently. Maybe we can go without it for a short period of time, but any extended period of time without that, and it can get very difficult, which is why I always say I want people in my community to feel like they are loved, valuable, and not alone. So do I think I impact people's lives with my content? 100%, absolutely.
And I think it's interesting because for me, my experience with this was really, I had no experience with it until I did, right? And by that I mean, I never really thought, people came in, they hung out, chatted and stuff. I never really like, I knew what I wanted my channel to be for other people. I never knew that it was. And because I was just being myself, I'm just playing games. People wanted to join in, they would join in and stuff like that. And then I got a DM from a viewer of mine, and he thanked me for letting him play. He came in, he didn't talk, he wasn't in the party because we were in a party of 6 or 7 people just having sort of a community type night. But he thanked me for letting him play. He was like, man, I had a lot of stuff going on, like I had a rough day. It was really nice to just play games, just not chat, not talk, just play games with people, play games with friends. And that like really sunk in, that what I'm doing is actually reaching people in more of a way than, I watch this guy play video games. Like, people will start to show up for reasons outside of video games.
Yeah. So I know we have some more questions that I kind of want to get through. We have probably like 4 more questions. I think we're gonna go through the list of questions that we kind of have right now, and then we're probably gonna wrap it up, because we are going a bit longer than we probably will on a normal podcast, which is okay because it's our first one. We wanted to get some introductions through and stuff, but
Sure.
we do want to keep this in a somewhat timely manner. So
But I'll be super quick with that response.
yeah, sure,
if I
go
can.
for it.
So Thursday marked my 5th month of streaming at all on any platform, which for me it's been all Mixer. And so kind of coming to terms accepting some of that stuff, like, oh, we affect people's lives and stuff like that. That is tough, because you feel arrogant to say, oh, I changed lives, you know, but you do. And that's something that mods and friends, more importantly around me, are teaching to me. And I think it's something the streamer should realize is you will affect lives. You might really just peeve them off for the rest of the day because that darn streamer just wouldn't acknowledge their follow. So they unfollowed and left, and that might ruin someone's day. But you also, you know, someone jumping in and saying, hey, you might make their day when you say hey back and ask them, you know, when they say, you know, tomorrow's my birthday or something, by just saying, what are your plans for your birthday? That might be a really big deal to them because some people just don't do that back. Like Qui-Gon was saying, you know, a place to be loved, you matter, you know, a place to make friends and to be a friend. Those things do matter to people, especially when you look at today's generation. Where, you know, bullying and stuff like that have kind of taken place and gotten bigger, right? So I think something to understand is it's not arrogant, and this is something I'm coming to terms with. So I'm speaking, we talked about this is kind of our journey, right? So I'm speaking from literally last night, a long-winded but very deep conversation about we do affect people's lives. You will affect people's lives, even if it just becomes a 90-day thing for you, or if you take it off and keep going. You're going to affect their lives, and keep that in mind from the stake of make it worthwhile. I don't think it's arrogant to say that. I guess, sorry, it's really an emotional piece for me, so we'll have to deep dive into it more later, but I think
Deep dive
it's
deep.
important.
We're
Deep
deep
dive
diving
deeply.
deep, guys.
We're gonna deep dive.
Like now, let me know.
Okay, so
which
is
one
that,
catches your mind next, Deacon?
do what? What'd you ask me?
Which one catches your eye next?
Well, I think you guys want to do one more, and then maybe wrap a few.
Well,
into the
let's
next podcast.
let's do 2 more. Let's go ahead and do the
Yes,
the longer one, and then laptop or PC. We can kind of touch on that because that kind of has a little bit to
Okay,
do with
so you
starting.
want to do the
equipment,
long
stuff
one
like
at the
that.
bottom?
No, the one that's at the very
top
top
one.
Yeah, top.
Yep.
So this question right here, it says, from the 1 week worth of experience I have streaming, my question is, it seems easier to talk to chat and be entertaining when there's people in chat. What do y'all do when the view count is low? So I know Deacon touched on this a little bit earlier. It is a skill developed over time to learn how to talk when there's no one talking. Like I said, I've been doing this for almost a full year now. If you could see my content from back then, it is in like it. I have improved my ability to.
Oh my God, you should DM me your first VOD.
Actually, I don't even think I have my first VOD available to me, because I'm dumb and didn't record it. I need to start recording things, honestly. But anyways, how you can best deal with that, and I'm gonna echo what Professor Broman says here, because it is a very, very good thing to do, which I still need to honestly work on a little bit. But what he says to do, and I have done in the past, still need to get better at it, but write a list of 10 things that you find interesting, and you talk about thing number 1 until you are blue in the face, and then do the same with number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way through 10. And then if you're about to vomit at the end of that, go ahead and go vomit, and then start at number 1 again. That's what you do. And inevitably, someone will eventually find your chat that is interested in the same types of things that you are. And say I was talking about, I'm excited for the new Star Wars game that's going to be coming out. I'm speculating on what I think is going to happen. Someone comes in, they enjoy Star Wars as well. They say, well, I think this is going to happen. Boom, we just sparked a 20-minute conversation about theories that probably are not actually going to come true. But it's okay, because that's what it's all about. It's about having fun conversations that sometimes don't mean anything. because it's just fun to do that from time to time. So that's what I would recommend, coming up with a list of things that you are interested in and talking about them day in, day out, and then just, you can add to the list or you can remove from the list just as time goes on. It doesn't have to stay the same the entire time, but that's my recommendation for that one. You guys have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I touched on it real briefly earlier. Flow freaking matters, especially when you first start.
Yeah.
You know, if you jump into a chat where nobody's talking and the streamer isn't talking, I mean, you could just go play your own game and not talk. You could just do that. You could pull up a YouTube video of just gameplay of it, you know? I mean, there's something else you could do, but if you to the stream and the streamer's dying and you look in the chat and they're goofing, whoop, there's the 7th death, and you're like, oh, they've been at this for a while. I could do this in less than 7 deaths. You know, and maybe you can kind of start thinking that way, and you hear the guy joking about it and laugh about having a good time. Next thing, you're having a good time, and you see the chat, you're all just chatting together. That works, but maybe that doesn't happen, especially when you first start, which is really what this is looking at. When you first start, there's no one in the chat except for maybe you and your phone watching back to make sure you haven't disconnected, right? And when it comes to the flow, if you can't come up with something to talk about, you can't just spew out words, which is my problem, is like spew out too many words.
I do that sometimes too.
Right, he gets it. If you can't just keep spewing out words, even no matter how nonsensical they are, sometimes those nonsensical words of, you know what really grinds my gears? Airline food. It has nothing to do with Dauntless or Halo, right? But it might make someone laugh.
But dang it, the airline food just sucks, and they charge you so much for it.
We're not gonna name names, but it starts with a D and it rhymes with Belta. So, for real though, I think flow matters.
Yep.
If you can't keep that going, sometimes having something to fill up the dead space while you're thinking about the next thing to talk about, especially when you first start, because when you first start, it's not just ideas flowing in your head. Because when you're not thinking about the game or talking to the chat, your brain's probably thinking, what if I made that command? Or how does this person do it? What if I implemented the camera in this angle and changed this transition? Music. Put some music on in the background. Now, Mixer right now is really forgiving with the copyright, to our knowledge. I know my preference is to someday be a 100% copyright-free stream. I know everyone has different opinions on that, but where it stands right now, just something in the background, so that if you have a moment and it is quiet, instead of hearing nothing but Pathfinder's feet going cring, 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 you know, or octane, like little cucarachas, or whatever, you know, instead of hearing that, you hear, I will never say never, something like that, you know, something good. So,
I will fight you
little believers.
But yeah, like,
That's my thought,
and you could even use like your thought processes for like how you can improve on your stream. If that's something that you like really actively think about a lot, you can talk about that as well. It's not like you have to keep everything you do with your content a secret. Like, not everything has to be this big surprise, like, oh look, this is happening now. Like, you can talk about that stuff. That's okay. That's an okay topic to talk about. Anyways, Deacon, go for it.
No, I think you guys covered that pretty well, to be honest.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna do one more question and then wrap up. Yep.
Sure.
Okay.
Which one?
So I was thinking we're gonna do this one right here. That work for you?
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
What laptop or PC would be a decent start to streaming with the Elgato HD60S?
So that's the one that is, it's not it doesn't go
It's
into
external.
a PCI. Okay, it's external. Awesome.
That's the one I have.
It's plug and play.
So when you're using a capture card, and all of the gaming task is being dedicated, is being executed through a console, you really don't need a strong like PC to actually do much. Like, when it comes to actually outputting the stream itself, like not processing any gaming or anything on top of that, but simply outputting the stream, realistically, it's almost, you could almost say it's quantity over quality. So long as it has the so long as you have the bare minimum stuff, like if you have like 8 gigs of RAM, I mean, it's not ideal, but if you have like 8 gigs of RAM and decent internet with like a quad core Intel i5 or something like that, honestly,
i5 minimum for
yeah,
sure.
I would say i5 minimum, yeah, but
For
that's
anything.
that's pretty much all you need. If your PC is simply being dedicated to pushing the stream over to Mixer, just because like from a hardware standpoint, you don't need much, for doing something as simple as that. I wouldn't be able to give you any specific like laptop recommendation out there.
I'll say my first PC was pretty much exactly as you said. So I was very limited on budget when I first started, but I knew I wanted to build a PC, right?
Yeah.
And so I built, I think after everything was said and done, and this is partially just me being who I am and wanting to spend money I don't have, it was, I think, what I quoted or what I priced out the PC at was around 500, maybe 550. Ultimately, what I ended up spending was about 700. But it also, one thing that plays into streaming is how you're going to do the process that you're doing. So the way that it works is you go from your console to a capture card to your monitor out to your PC, right? And then your PC encodes it from there. If you want to use a processor encoding or hardware encoding, as it's called, X264, you need to drop money into that processor. Now, with that said, if you don't want to do that, if you would like to go more the GPU route or the for NVIDIA, it's called NVENC encoding, which is
NVENC.
NVENC. You're going to look at beefing up your graphics card. So to start, it's also a question of how you want to do encoding. So NVENC encoding is probably cheaper to get into.
I can tell you Mixer really likes NVENC encoding.
Yes, but with hardware encoding, assuming that you buy the proper components, you will have immaculate quality. Right, a quality that you probably won't get in terms of specs and stuff with as you would for like with NVENC encoding. With that said, quality eventually becomes negligible at a certain point too, which is something to keep in mind.
Yeah. So yeah, we have some more questions that we will probably jump into in our next podcast. Or in one of the podcasts to come. But as far as that stuff goes, we've been going for a little under 2 hours, and I think now would probably be a good time where we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up.
One more thought.
Well, sure, go for it.
No, I'm kidding.
But yeah, guys, that is going to wrap up the first episode of the Cosmic Council podcast. We're beginner techniques. What is it? I don't even remember. I'm literally drawing a blank. I'm literally drawing a blank. Good lord. Where beginner conversations evolve into expert techniques. That's what it is. Sorry, my bad, guys. I forgot our own catchphrase that we decided on. But yeah, thank you guys very much. I appreciate you being here. We all do.
Hopefully we didn't go too long for you guys to not like it. Hopefully it was enjoyable and one more game.
Also,
right?
feel free, guys, to go ahead and follow our Twitter account that we have for the Cosmic Council. It is in that bot message that just got dropped in there, guys. Go to all those different places. Alterbot, yes, thank you. That is where we are going to.
That is a good question. So let's cover that real quick,
yes,
because on our Twitter we have on our pinned post we have it will be weekly. I think what we're going to aim to do for the first maybe 2, maybe 3 podcasts is bi-weekly.
Yeah.
To try and get a feel of, one, we don't want to run ourselves out of content too quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll give us time to build more content, better content, more focused content. And I think we eventually, within a month or so, maybe 2 months, we want to get into a weekly situation. But for the first, I would say 3 to 4 podcasts, expect bi-weekly for sure.
Yep.
Just so we can curate like this was a little bit, obviously I think we want to curate a little bit better than we did tonight. But this was a very good test, I think, and I think it went off extremely well. But we want to curate it better so that we can narrow down the time we don't want to make everyone 2 hours. Our goal is around an hour. So with that said, definitely keep an eye on the socials, but expect bi-weekly for the immediate future.
Yeah. And if you guys do have topics that you would like us to cover, feel free to tweet us at the like on our Twitter account. Like we want to hear from you guys, like what you guys are interested in, whether like this is not a podcast that is designated specifically for content creation. We decided to kind of have that be our first topic, simply because like starting from zero, this is our first podcast. We're starting it off. We figured it would be a good topic to go ahead and start on. But
it's the only thing we're good at.
we are more than open to having conversations with like about literally anything. So if you guys have something that you guys want us to talk about, feel free to go ahead and add us over at our Twitter account. We would be more than happy to hear you guys' input. But with that being said, guys, I think that is going to wrap up our first podcast. So thank you all very much for tuning in. We appreciate you.
All of your faces.
Indeed.
Hanging out tonight, guys.
All
of them.
Oh my gosh.
And this is
I think
like
they ended the recording, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm still going.
Audio.
I'm still going. But guys,
Same.
if you guys haven't done so already, please make sure to go ahead and drop some follows over on my boys right here, POISIONkill and SirDeacon.
Bot spam incoming.
Please, guys,
Yeah,
go ahead and drop some follows over on these boys. We're excited to go ahead and get this rolling. We're excited to see where this takes us. I had a lot of fun tonight. Hope to see you guys in the next stream and in the next podcast. And with that being said, this is the Cosmic Council tuning out. We will catch you guys here very soon. Catch you later.